Hello there. This is Being God's Obedient Servant channel. And today's lessons, we're starting the second book of Chronicles. I'm going to be doing chapters 1 through 3. A little bit of lesson in here, pretty straightforward reading though. And so there's a kind of short chapters. So it should not take too long. And hopefully I know I'm pretty famous for going down some rabbit trails, but I'll try to keep an eye on that this time and make sure I don't go down too many of them. But yeah, so if you're new to this, you just clicked on this. This is a Bible study channel where I go through the Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse. I like to explain to people what parts of the Bible, even the parts of the Old Testament that stands today and which parts don't. And, it's just also explaining other parts of the Bible that, may be a little confusing for others. But if you are new to this and you want to learn more about the Bible and everything, I do recommend going and starting at Genesis chapter 1. On my page and, start from there and work your way upward. But yeah, good thing is there's not really many names in this lesson. Names are one of my kryptonites in the Bible. If you've been following along, you know that to be true, so we'll go ahead and jump right on in here and get started. So yeah, last we left off, we finished with King David, and now we're starting off with King Solomon, his son. So let's go ahead and get started here. 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 1. And Solomon the son of David was strengthened in his kingdom, and the Lord his God was with him, and magnified him exceedingly. Then Solomon spake unto all Israel, to the captains of thousands and of hundreds, and to the judges, and to every governor in all Israel, the chief of the fathers. Now, if you pay close attention there, it's showing you that the governors, normally the judges would be appointed, but the governors are normally the elders. So that's what it means by the chief of the fathers. That would be the oldest ones that, that are still in their right frame of mind. And this is why it was, even God still calls this today, where it says, honor thy father and thy mother. And it's not just your father, it's also your grandfather, your great-grandfather, so on and so forth. Even your uncles fall into that and stuff. But it is of the men that would be the governor over the tribes, as it were. But let's continue on here. Verse 3. So Solomon and all the congregation with him went to the high place that was at Gibeon, for there was the tabernacle of the congregation of God, which Moses the servant of the Lord had made in the wilderness. Now, if you don't remember that, the tabernacle is the special tent that was made. And it was made and maintained by the Levites. Well, I don't know if it's completely made by the Levites. I know it was maintained by the Levites and stuff, but I don't think it was completely made by the Levites only, but yeah. Verse 4. But the ark of God had David brought up from Kirjath-jearim to the place which David had prepared for it, for he had pitched a tent for it at Jerusalem. Moreover, the brazen altar that Bezaleel the son of Uri, the son of Hur, had made, he put before the tabernacle of the Lord, and Solomon and the congregation sought unto it. And Solomon went up thither to the brazen altar before the Lord, which was at the tabernacle of the congregation, and offered 1,000 burnt offerings upon it. In that night did God appear unto Solomon, and said unto him, Ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said unto God, Thou hast showed great mercy unto David my father, and hast made me to reign in his stead. Now, O Lord God, let thy promise unto David my father be established, for thou hast made me king over a people like the dust of the earth in multitude. Give me now wisdom and knowledge, that I may go out and come in before this people, for who can judge this thy people that is so great? And God said to Solomon, Because this was in thine heart, and thou hast not asked riches, wealth, or honor, nor the life of thine enemies, neither yet hast asked long life, but hast asked wisdom and knowledge for thyself, that thou mayest judge my people, over whom I have made thee king. Wisdom and knowledge I granted unto thee, and I will give thee riches and wealth and honor, such as none of the kings have had that have been before thee, neither shall there any after thee have the like. Then Solomon came from his journey to the high place that was in Gibeon, to Jerusalem, from before the tabernacle of the congregation, and reigned over Israel. Now, of course, we can see here that the Bible always teaches, God says that when your heart is aligned as mine, whenever our hearts are, desiring godly things, he will give us our heart's desires. And so, clearly here, at this time, Solomon, his heart is aligned with God. Because it said, since he didn't ask for riches and honor and stuff, he will receive those as well, but he will receive wisdom and knowledge, because that's what he desired, which is something we all should desire more than anything else. But, so, this is to, the main lesson from this has always been that very thing, that, as long as we have a godly heart, he'll give us the rest. Anything we ask of, as long as our heart is aligned with his, he will grant that. But if you do desire riches and honor and fancy stuff and everything else, he will never give you those things, because then you have the love of money more than the love of others. But, yes, so let's go ahead and continue on here. Verse 14. And Solomon gathered chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, which he placed in the chariot cities, and with the king at Jerusalem. And the king made silver and gold at Jerusalem as plenteous as stones, and cedar trees made he as the sycamore trees that are in the vale for abundance. And Solomon had horses brought out of Egypt, and linen yarn. The king's merchants received the linen yarn at a price. And they fetched up and brought forth out of Egypt a chariot for 600 shekels of silver, and an horse for 150. And so brought they out horses for all the kings of the Hittites, and for the kings of Syria by their means. And Solomon determined to build an house for the name of the Lord, and an house for his kingdom. Now, if we go back and remember the teachings of that, when he's talking about, the house of, the house for God, God already designed through David. So the blueprints for it and everything else was already drawn up and ready. It just had to be built, but King David wasn't allowed to build it. his son that has not shed blood is to build a house. Has not been a man of war like King David was. But let's continue on. Verse 2. I'm sorry, yeah, we're in chapter 2 already. It just said these are short chapters here. So, verse 2. And Solomon told out 70,000 men to bear burdens, and 80,000 to hew in the mountain, and 3,600 to oversee them. And Solomon sent to Huram the king of Tyre, saying, As thou didst deal with David my father, and didst send him cedars to build him an house to dwell therein, even so deal with me. Behold, I build an house to the name of the Lord my God, to dedicate it to him, and to burn before him sweet incense, and for the continual showbread, and for the burnt offerings morning and evening, on the Sabbaths, and on the new moons, and on the solemn feast of the Lord our God. This is an ordinance forever to Israel. And the house which I build is great, for great is our God above all gods. But who is able to build him an house, seeing the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain him? Who am I then, that I should build him an house, save only to burn sacrifice before him? Send me now therefore a man cunning to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in iron, and in purple, and crimson, and blue, and that can skill to grave with the cunning men that are with me in Judah and in Jerusalem, whom David my father did provide. Send me also cedar trees, fir trees, and algum trees out of Lebanon, for I know that thy servants can skill to cut timber in Lebanon, and behold, my servants shall be with thy servants, even to prepare me timber in abundance, for the house which I am about to build shall be wonderful great. And behold, I will give to thy servants, the hewers that cut timber, 20,000 measures of beaten wheat, and 20,000 measures of barley, and 20,000 baths of wine, and 20,000 baths of oil. Now, if you don't know what beaten wheat is, that means it's supposed to be, it's already been separated from its shells. And that way you got, you don't have any waste there. Most of the work's already done. Now you just got to grind it into powder to make flour and stuff so you can make bread and everything. So let's continue on here. Verse 11. Then Huram the king of Tyre answered in writing, which he sent to Solomon, Because the Lord hath loved his people, he hath made thee king over them. Huram said, Moreover, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, that made heaven and earth, who hath given to David the king a wise son, endued with prudence and understanding, that might build an house for the Lord, and an house for his kingdom. And now I have sent a cunning man, endued with understanding of Huram my fathers, the son of a woman of the daughters of Dan, and his father was a man of Tyre, skillful to work in gold, and in silver, in brass, in iron, in stone, and in timber, in purple, in blue, and in fine linen, and in crimson, also to grave any manner of graving, and to find out every device which shall be put to him, with thy cunning men, and with the cunning men of my lord David thy father. Now, I'll tell you right now, for one person to be skilled in all that stuff is somebody clearly very blessed by God. To have, that many, talents. It wasn't just, all metal work. It's gold and silver as well. If I remember correctly, it's like, in stonework, it's a mason, and in timber, carpenter. And also it says purple and in blue, and in fine linen is also, he's able to dye fabrics, possibly even make fabrics. This is someone, very, in a lot of places would be more valuable than anyone else there because of all the tasks that they can do or be in charge of. But yeah, a very skilled person there, very talented. But remember, our talents are given to us by God, so we always have to remember to thank Him for those. But yeah, continue on 15. Now therefore the wheat and the barley, the oil and the wine, which my Lord has spoken of, let him send unto his servants. And we will cut wood out of Lebanon, as much as thou shalt need, and we will bring it to thee in floats by sea to Joppa, and thou shalt carry it up to Jerusalem. And Solomon numbered all the strangers that were in the land of Israel after the numbering wherewith David his father had numbered them. And they were found 150,000 and 3,600. And he set 70,000 of them to be bearers of burdens, and 80,000 to be hewers in the mountain, and 3,600 overseers to set the people a work. Chapter 3. Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem in Mount Moriah, where the Lord appeared unto David his father, in the place that David had prepared in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And he began to build in the 2nd day of the 2nd month in the 4th year of his reign. Now these are the things wherein Solomon was instructed for the building of the house of God. The length by cubits after the first measures was 80 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits. If I remember correctly, cubits was from elbow to fingertips. And so it was a pretty standard measurement, but yeah, tape measures weren't made yet. But of course, we've seen other things where they just pretty much, made a string or something of that nature. Then they did a mark and a mark on that, and then they would use something like that. But if I remember correctly, though, cubit was from elbow to fingertip. Those type of things you can easily look up, the biblical measurements, But let's continue on here. Verse 4. And the porch that was in the front of the house, the length of it was according to the breadth of the house, 20 cubits, and the height was 120, and he overlaid it within with pure gold. Yeah, this there's going to be a lot of gold and stuff, in the making of this. A lot. It's I don't know. I can't remember the weight of it, but at this time God's blessed him with so much riches and gold and silver and everything else. He just, they make their homes out of it. Yay! Let's continue on, verse 5. And the greater house he I'm trying to remember how to say. It's like it's meant for ceiling, but it's I think it's sealed. Yeah. Anyway, let's go with that. Sealed with fir tree, which he overlaid with fine gold and set thereon palm trees and chains. And he garnished the house with precious stones for beauty, and the gold was gold of Paravan. He overlaid also the house, the beams, the posts, and the walls thereof, and the doors thereof with gold, and graved cherubims on the walls. And he made the most holy house. The length thereof was according to the breadth of the house, 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 20 cubits. And he overlaid it with fine gold, amounting to 600 talents. And the weight of the nails was 50 shekels of gold, and he overlaid the upper chambers with gold. And in the most holy house he made 2 cherubims of image work, and overlaid them with gold. And the wings of the cherubims were 20 cubits long. One wing of the one cherub was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was likewise 5 cubits, reaching to the wing of the other cherub. And if you don't remember what the cherubims are, that's the thing that's also on the top of the ark, where it's got the certain things with the wings. I think that's where we get today. So many people believe that angels have wings is because these are winged items, and their wings, go forth and touch each other. Well, aiming towards each other, actually on the ark, but they're putting these also. I was told to put these on the walls. So it's more likely the cherubs, the cherubims are protectors. So I guess that's where we get our, the belief of our guardian angels and having wings. Who's to say? Maybe they do. I don't know. Never really fully seen an angel on earth. But I do know that they're around, but I'm talking about actually seeing them in their original glory. But yeah, they do come. We are tested quite a bit by some of them, people actually truly in need and everything else. I do believe in that still that happens. But let's continue on here. Verse 12. And one wing of the other cherub was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits, also joining to the wing of the other cherub. The wings of these cherubims spread themselves forth 20 cubits, and they stood on their feet, and their faces were inward. And he made the veil of blue and purple and crimson and fine linen, and wrought cherubims thereon. Also he made before the house 2 pillars of 30 and 5 cubits high, and the chapiter that was on the top of each of them was 5 cubits. And he made chains as in the oracle, and put them on the heads of the pillars, and made 100 pomegranates, and put them on the chains. And he reared up the pillars before the temple, one on the right hand and the other on the left, and called the name of that on the right hand Jachin, and the name of that on the left Boaz. Yeah, I don't really understand it. Maybe there is some special meaning to that, actually naming pillars, beams, but I've built quite a few houses and other structures and stuff like that, and I've never named a beam. But yeah, I said, in their times it must be something to that, but that's it. That's the end of this reading. And we are under 30 minutes. Got about 6 minutes left. I said it's pretty straightforward. Short chapters so far. There's, I think there was 29 chapters in the, first Chronicles. Oops, hit my microphone. And There's 36 chapters in 2 Chronicles. But so far, a lot of them just they're what I can see so far, they're short ones. Now, I don't have the Bible completely memorized word for word and everything like that. I'm never going to be that guy, that person. Very few people are. I mean, I've only known of one, actually know of. He's still around. He's a preacher in North Carolina that is like that. He can quote the Bible from memory. All of it, too. It's fascinating to follow along, and as he's just saying this, that, and the other, I'm sitting there like it fascinates me, but I was born with dyslexia and stuff, so memorizing written stuff is not really in the cards for me. My main thing is, knowing what the lessons are and what means what. That's, for me, from what I've learned in the Bible, that's the most crucial thing, is knowing what God expects of us. And that's understanding the lessons more than just, if you can memorize the words and quote them, but you don't understand them, it's almost pointless. But this is why we're to study the Word. We're not just to read it through one time and say we read it. We're to, go back and reread and then reread and then reread. Maybe one day I'll have it memorized, but who knows? But yeah, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end this lesson here, since we was able to get it under 30 minutes, which is what I've been trying to get back to. And so yeah, it's like not really a lot to talk about this week. It's this year is going to be an election year, and so we're going to have a lot of fun with that. But remember to pray. Especially pray for what's going on in Texas at the border. Pray that our country can, pray that the people can come together and we survive this. It's still a toss-up because we are quite divided. But the people are clearly speaking of what they want. And what they're tired of the other stuff, and they're wanting common sense stuff, and they want the Constitution upheld and the constitutional laws upheld. So that's a good thing, seeing people kind of waking up and getting more involved. And especially seeing a lot of the younger generation coming up saying, hey, we're tired of this too. And it's like this. But remember, I talked about it before, how our times are so hard today. We got people asking for help again. And, normally praying to God for that. And, if you turn back to God, He will help you. But our main thing is, when God's done helping us with whatever we ask for, we're to remember to stay with Him. And continue praying to Him even when we don't need His help. That's a hard thing at times. Especially nowadays, we got so much stuff going on. It's you get bombarded with a bunch of stuff today. And the good thing is we have a God that understands all that. So amen to that. But yeah, remember to pray. Prayer's very important. And remember to study the Word. You can study it with me as we go along. I normally post 2 videos a week. And I do encourage to read it on your own. Because as you read on your own, God will speak to you more eventually over time. As you start understanding more, it'll be spoken to you more. And if you're still learning to have faith and stuff in God, just read more, and then God will, once again, God will start speaking to you stronger and stronger, and increasing your faith. This is we don't really have completely fully blind faith. I mean, we have faith in stuff we don't see, but as Christians, God speaks to us. And once you have the Holy Spirit speaking to you and everything else, that's like, proven faith right there. It's more, it's more proof that it's all real. But yeah, anyways. So once again, ending this lesson here. So until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.